Okay, so some of the stuff I learned in this chapter, I'm also in my Communications 1020 class right now. I just switched over from a different major to this, so I'm taking a lot of the intro communications classes right now. A lot of these communication models we learned in that first chapter in Communications 1020, so I was familiar with some of these. Um, and one thing that I love learning about other communication models is that the thing that across all models is there, right, is our own understanding and the not the bias, the we take into each interaction with another person, we take in our understanding and usually a lack of their understanding, right? If you're communicating with a friend, you know how to communicate with them because you've communicated with them often, right? You know what you can say to them and they'll understand. You know jokes you can make, you know those little nuances. But when you go into interaction with somebody you don't know or a group you don't know, you only go in with your own understanding and a thought of what they will understand, right? And so you have to be able to communicate your understanding with the nuance of other people. And in that, sorry, in that example we watched, the Gordon Ramsay example where he's trying to teach Shane how to make a crab cake, um, there's a dysfunction between their understandings, right? Gordon uses vocabulary that he knows, and he's expecting Shane to know that Shane doesn't know. And that's where the main breakdown happens, is when Gordon says, put the flat side down, Shane, instead of saying, I don't know what that means, just does what he thinks it means, right? And we see a breakdown in communication there. I also, we had to explain in that same model, we had to explain concept application to an eighth grader. And the one example that I didn't use because it was very specific, it could only be used on a certain eighth grader, right? Was actually how I played football for somewhere between 8 and 10 years. I didn't do the math before I started this. And that's exactly how you teach things in football. Because the first couple years I played offensive line, and the first couple years you play football, they are just trying to get you knowledge, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to shake that. They're just trying to get you knowledge. They're just trying to get you to understand that, hey, when we run this play, you hit the person to the right of you, right? Or, hey, these are the gaps on an offensive line. When we run this play, your job is to block the person in that gap. They do not teach you why. They just teach you, hey, this is what you need to do when we run this play. And then as you get deeper into football, like by the time I was in 6th grade, they're starting to say, okay, so when we run this play, these are the gaps we block, but why do we do that? And why are we trying to create a hole here? And why, like, what does a seal block do? What do these certain blocks do? How do they create, and how, like, it shifts from knowledge to understanding, so that, hey, if we switch a play and we say, hey, we're actually going to audible, we're going to run this play to the opposite side, you can understand, despite the defense not moving, because of your understanding, what your job is supposed to be, right? So it was really cool seeing the concept of application explained when I'd been taught things that way my whole life, right?